You know, in hindsight, I think it's a great story to tell, but I imagine it must have been a bitch to go through.
I was 9 years old when my father and I walked into our local tennis club, and there he was, NFL's greatest running back of all time, Jim Brown. Just a monstrosity of a man, bigger than life. I couldn't believe it. My eyes were like the size of poker chips, just staring at him. He was there having a conversation with the club manager about some tennis game that had fallen through that he wanted to play, and my father sees this disappointment and hears the conversation and walks up to him and says, "You know, if you want to play a tennis match, my son will play against you." And, you know, Jim Brown looks over my dad's shoulder at me and he says, "Listen, I like to play for serious money. That kid is 8 years old." And before I could even tell him I was 9 years old, my father says, "Well, I'll bet you our house that he'll beat you." I just absolutely petrified. I froze. I just couldn't envision us not having a home anymore. That was too steep for a 9-year-old to grasp. And Jim Brown says, "I already have a house. Let's make the prize money $10,000, but I want to see the money." My dad says, "Done." Then he tells me to wait here as he goes home to get it. I mean, it's not like we had a lot. We had what we needed. But my dad worked hard for it. You know, he lived on tips, and a good night, he'd come home with his pockets full of money, and then there was other nights where it just wasn't that way. But he would save it. He didn't trust banks. He trusted his mattress. Meanwhile, back in the club, I'm sitting there, thinking we're about to risk our entire life savings on me beating someone I've never seen play, and of all people, one of the greatest running backs, one of the greatest athletes in the history of sports.
You gotta understand something. This was a climate, the kind of atmosphere we grew up in. It shaped our characters and who we are today.
The club manager says to him, "Jim, you don't want to play this kid." So by the time my dad gets back with the 10 large ones, Jim Brown decides he wants to play a few sets without money and just see how things go. I beat him pretty easily in 2 sets, and he donates $500 to me to play the third because he knew he wasn't going to win. I remember 2 things at that point: shaking Jim Brown's hand and it kind of swallowing mine, and the other was a look of pride on my father's face as he told Jim, "You know he's going to be #1 in the world." Jim Brown stopped and turned around and said, "I don't doubt it. I don't doubt it."